Alright, so I sort of alluded to this in my last video, but today I'm going to be going over a fight that absolutely needs to be put on the screen. A fight that we were robbed of in the comics. A fight between two absolute fucking freaks of psychology. I'll bet you could sit either one of these guys down in a room with every psychologist on the planet for a week straight. They wouldn't be able to fix shit. These two are just so absolutely batshit crazy. You know how in Dragon Ball the Saiyans have a natural love of fighting? These two aren't from Dragon Ball, and they're both different races, but I swear to you both of them must have Saiyan ancestors, because they will fight to the death for a week straight, and die happy. You could put these two on the moon to duke it out, come back a month later, and their decimated corpses would still be swinging at each other, and grinning ear to ear. If you haven't figured it out yet, as if the thumbnail and title weren't enough, the two I'm talking about are Conquest and Battle Beast, both from the show and comic. To start off, I'm going to be laying down some ground rules for the fight. Both of these characters are from Invincible, so we don't have to worry about making sure their power systems work with each other. Besides, both of them pretty much just hit really hard and don't have much in the way of other powers. They'll be fighting on generic uninhabited alien planet 305. Where they're fighting doesn't really matter. All that's important is that it's 1v1 and they're fighting on neutral ground. We're also not going to be allowing Battle Beast his weapons, and Conquest was recently on a game show where he won a brand new hand! In the comics, by the time we see Conquest for the first time, he's using an Infinity Gauntlet knockoff looking prosthetic. But since we're not allowing Battle Beast his weapons, we also shouldn't allow Conquest his metal hand thing. And if we let him walk into battle with one hand, Battle Beast would bite off one of his arms to make the fight fair. That's canonical, by the way, and in character. I told you these two are fucking insane.
I'll tell you no such thing. The truth is, I want you to resist. I'm not here to save you. I'm not here to spread the greatness of the Viltrum Empire. I'm here because I enjoy this. See, to me, there is no greater pleasure than feeling the warmth of my fists drenched in blood.
I'll scale Conquest first and list off his various feats. His only real appearances are fighting Invincible, so he does scale to relevant Invincible feats, and in fact upscales in most situations. In his first fight with Invincible, he ended up having to fight Invincible, Oliver, and Adam Eve, and managed to survive an attack from Eve where she literally tried to use her powers to melt his flesh. I don't think I can even show that, it's nasty. Somehow, though, he managed to survive her manipulating his skin at an atomic level, although whether Eve was just unable to focus because of him punching her in the face and straight through the stomach a moment before, or just because he's so strong, is unclear. He also attempted to rip Oliver in half, but he was prevented from doing that by Mark punching him from behind. He probably wouldn't have been able to do it if he hadn't been going slowly and trying to savor it. The way Invincible ended up defeating him was having to headbutt him repeatedly, because both of his arms were already broken, so he couldn't punch her anymore. So Conquest has the feat of fighting the main character, the closest thing to a reality warper that exists in Invincible, and the main character's brother, and in that fight, breaking both of the main character's arms, nearly killing the reality warper, and he would have if she didn't just heal herself with her powers, and also nearly killing the main character's brother. So he could probably tank nukes, giving Invincible's prior feat of tanking a nuke at point-blank range, and it not affecting him, and can also move at several times the speed of sound while on a planet, based on Invincible's feats of, again, that nuke, because he caught up to the missile, which would have been moving at multiple times the speed of sound. He also scales to that in terms of speed because of their feat during this fight of Invincible punching Conquest into space, and Conquest tackling him back into the atmosphere. I also want to point out here another durability feat. We don't see Invincible draw any blood from Conquest until halfway through the comic, while he is literally punching him into space, that's just crazy. Now, remember how I said Invincible defeated Conquest by headbutting him over and over? Yeah, notice how I said defeated and not killed. Because somehow, that guy was still alive. I would show you what happened to his head after Mark was done with him, but I want to monetize this stuff one day when I have enough subscribers. There is actually a requirement of 1,000 subscribers. It's the stupidest thing. Please subscribe. But I'm never going to be able to monetize this if I show what he did to Conquest. So just trust me, it was bad, and he should not have been able to survive that. And I want to take a moment to point out that after having his skull crushed, the next time we see him, he's mostly recovered, except he still has the same scar, and he doesn't have a new one once he fully heals. And it really made me wonder what the hell happened to him to leave a scar in the first place. I actually did figure this out, and the answer is pretty spoiler heavy, but basically he just didn't have his powers when it happened, and that's also why he lost his arm. Anyways, at this point he is now encased in a 400-ton block of steel, according to Cecil, and Cecil says the place is rigged to explode, so I would assume he's got at least one nuke on site. Anyways, Conquest escapes, because of course he does, you stupid fuck Cecil. And he doesn't have to rely on scaling to Invincible's nuke survival feat anymore, because he's got his own nuke survival feat. Or at least it's pretty implied he survived the nuke. A few issues later, we see him again, and this time he's with two other Viltrumites. He briefly trades punches with Omni-Man and Oliver, and is clearly stronger than either of them, but he quickly ends up catching the rematch from Invincible. Invincible wins again, this time nearly in a fair 1v1, but he has to strangle Conquest to death to win, and he still gets a hole punched him. Guess you want to be twinsies with Eve. I wouldn't say this means Invincible is stronger than Conquest. I would say at best that they're equal. Invincible probably would have died too if he didn't have Omni-Man and Oliver patch him up. When they showed up, Conquest had a handful of Invincible's guts. Conquest put him into a coma for like 10 months after that. Now, because of this time jump, we can't say that Conquest would actually scale to Omni-Man's later feats, because it is confirmed that Omni-Man and Oliver were training in this period, and it's not made clear how much stronger they got. Invincible, however, wasn't training, because he was in a coma, so I'll only be scaling Conquest off of Invincible's later feats. And of those feats, only one is really important. That feat being Invincible, Omni-Man, and another Viltrumite destroying planet Viltrum. This is often looked to as the highest feat in the series, and for good reason, seeing as it's pretty much the only planetary feat, and the highest scale for attack power. This planetary designation for the feat comes with some pretty heavy air quotes though, seeing as they had to do this with 3 people together. They had to have a space rider shoot the planet with his infinity ray first, and according to Thetis, if they didn't time it right, they would die. In addition, according to later statements by Omni-Man, although those are disputed by Invincible, Omni-Man was doing most of the work there, and was, as he said, pulling Invincible along with him. This makes sense, considering Thetis was old and hadn't really been fighting for a long time, and Omni-Man had just been training for 10 months, while Invincible was in a coma, and, like I said, obviously not training during that. On top of that, Omni-Man was probably just stronger than Invincible before that time skip. So I'm going to say that Invincible would probably end up scaling to about moon level because of this feat, with Conquest upscaling to large moon or maybe even small planet level. Alright, that section alone was already longer than some of my entire videos, but we aren't even done yet. I still have to scale Battle Beast, the one man in the series who may be even more insane than Conquest. So I'll also go over his feats and how they match up to Conquest.
Viltrumites. At long last, my thirst for battle can be satiated.
Forgive him, he's a fan. He's been really wanting to meet you guys.
Long have I waited for such a worthy challenge. I will savor this. And if this conflict brings about the end of my life, I will savor it all the more.
But first, I want to go over his backstory real quick, because unlike Conquest, he does actually have somewhat of a reason for his insanity and obsession with fighting. Basically, there was war on his planet, and he was sent to the front lines, and he ended up getting addicted to fighting. He survived the war and came out as pretty much the greatest hero, but he left to find someone who could kill him in a fair fight, so he would have an honorable death. This is what gets him into pretty much every fight we see him in. The first time we see him, he was hired by a crime lord named Machine Head to protect him. How Machine Head even ran into Battle Beast, we have no idea, But Battle Beast was there because Machine Head said there would be strong people, and Battle Beast didn't realize that Machine Head didn't know what a strong person was. So he got teleported in to fight Invincible, and he fought Invincible, and it didn't go well for Invincible. So like Conquest, his first fight we see was with Invincible, but unlike Conquest, he didn't lose. The next time we see him, he's in a Viltrumite prison. We're not sure what exactly he did to get locked up there, but I'm going to take a wild guess and say that he probably went to some planet that's in the Empire, saw someone who looked like they might be strong, and beat them up. Who exactly managed to arrest him? I don't know. But when Alan breaks out, he frees all the other prisoners as a distraction, and Battle Beast follows him once he hears there will be Viltrumites to fight, because he had heard how strong the Viltrumites were. He ended up fighting one of the Viltrumites sent to execute Omni-Man, and in 1v1, straight hands, he's implied to have won. We just don't see it. He does survive frozen into a chunk of ice, which is a neat little feat, suggesting he can survive for days in extremely low temperatures without food or air. We do see him later come to the fight at Planet Viltrum with some sort of breathing mask, so he does prefer to breathe air, but he can make do without. This won't exactly give him much of an advantage over a Viltrumite though, as they can fly on space on a regular basis, have been stated to be able to hold their breath for weeks, and Omni-Man and Oliver apparently just don't eat for the first 2 weeks of Invincible being in a coma, as suggested by Omni-Man saying to Oliver that it had been 2 weeks and asked wasn't he starving, when he killed and cooked some sort of big alien bug monster. We don't get to see much more out of him until the fight at Planet Viltrum, which, to be honest, really seems to be where pretty much all of Invincible's scaling and feats end up leading to. And he fights some random Viltrumites in the background, and tries to fight Thrag, but gets flung aside. Going back to Conquest's fight with Oliver, Invincible, and Eve, Thrag here fought Oliver, Invincible, Omni-Man, and Thetis, and folded all of them. He one-shot Oliver and ripped off his arm, tanked a 4-piece combo from Invincible and then returned the favor, one-shot Omni-Man, who was feeling left out after Eve and Invincible both got impaled through the stomach, and also one-shot Thetis. Winning a 4v1 is crazy, but winning a 4v1 and one-shotting 3 of the 4 enemies is even crazier. Now, if you haven't read the comics and you're wondering right now why I just stopped power-scaling Battle Beast and started power-scaling Thrag, I'll get to that in a moment. But we can see here that while a Conquest may upscale to Invincible, Thrag upscales to Invincible, Oliver, Omni-Man, and Thetis all at the same time, and by a whole lot of a bigger margin. We also have a direct statement by Thrag himself that Conquest was afraid of him, pretty heavily implying Thrag was much stronger. The mere fact that there existed anyone in the universe to that monster, that lunatic, that goddamn demon Conquest was actually afraid of, is quite possibly Thrag's biggest feat. So we have pretty much a confirmation that Thrag is stronger than Conquest. But why is all this important, you ask? Because in issue 120, we see the full extent to which Battle Beast has lost his mind. The comic opens with him getting freaky, and then a message from Space Racer comes in to let him know that they figured out where Thrag is. Next thing you know, he is fully dressed again, and is falling directly from orbit with this big-ass hammer and this big-ass sword, ready for that fight. The way he was just standing there, Thrag might be stronger, but Battle Beast definitely has far more aura. Unfortunately for Battle Beast, his ideal, perfect, fucking dream 1v1 got ruined by the chick he was getting freaky with just a page before, dropping a bunch of alien monster things on Thrag to try to kill him. And Thrag got a pretty nasty wound to the stomach from those. Battle Beast, though, cutting those things in half, didn't get injured at all. But what's even more insane after this? Because Thrag had been injured to the stomach, to make things fair, he cut open his own stomach and threw away his weapons. Even if they hadn't gotten interrupted, or even if they had, if Battle Beast just kept his weapons, I think he would have won against Thrag. This fight went on for days, and it's not stated exactly how long the fight lasted, but Alan states they had been fighting for several days, and it eventually ends with Thrag crushing some sort of organ thing of Battle Beast's. Might be his heart, might be his stomach, but it was something. And Battle Beast didn't really have a good time with his guts everywhere. Thrag then passes out seconds later and is taken to a hospital immediately. Before I get into the final bit of the video, finishing up the Battle Beast scaling and declaring the victor, I just want to mention two things. Firstly, if you're still here, don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And secondly, I can't ignore what Thrag did to Battle Beast. I have to bring that up, because it may be the most disrespectful thing anyone has ever done. I say this in all seriousness. If you can think of anything more disrespectful done in any fiction or real life, drop it in the comments and prove me wrong, because I really doubt anyone will. What he did was, after he killed Battle Beast, he turned him into a cape and wore his corpse. Now that's bad enough, but what's even worse is he showed up to this man's home planet wearing the corpse of their greatest hero as a cape. This is the ultimate you ain't shit. This goes beyond this. This is your entire race ain't shit. This is your entire planet ain't shit. Anyway, that's enough of a tangent. On to the main event. The one you've been waiting for like 15 minutes for. The victor of Conquest versus Battle Beast. Considering Conquest's best feats make him scale to End of Viltrumite War Invincible, or considerably higher, but Thrag easily outclasses End of Viltrumite War Invincible, as well as pretty much everyone else we've seen Conquest fight. And on top of that, stated that Conquest was afraid of him. That means that Thrag is definitely stronger than Conquest by a lot, and Battle Beast was able to fight him for several days straight, with Alan saying it was inconclusive at any given time who was going to win, and them sending Mark and Oliver to go check for corpses to figure out who won a few days later. So it's safe to say that Battle Beast scales to Thrag, and because of that, he massively outscales Conquest. In terms of abilities, both of them just really punch real hard, and the only real advantage Conquest might have is being able to fly. I don't think he would try to escape though, because he loves fighting so much, and that's even assuming Battle Beast wouldn't just be able to jump up and drag him back down to pummel him into a pulp. Even if we were to change the rules of the battle, if it remains a 1v1, then Conquest is probably still losing. You could heal Conquest fully to the prime of his life, and give him a full day of prep time and let him ambush a Battle Beast, and he would still get folded just because of the sheer difference in their strengths. Both are absolute menaces, but Battle Beast having fought the main villain and lasting multiple days against him is really just one of the biggest feats in the show. Anyways, that's about all I have to say for this. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more stuff like this. This was my longest video of this kind I've made, and if people really like it, I might make some more longer format content like this. I'm also considering some other videos like Battle Beast vs. Early Z Goku, or putting the entire JJK verse against Invincible. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next, because I always try to read all my comments, and I'd love to hear your thoughts.